The champagne glass felt cold in my hand, but not as cold as the chill spreading through my chest as I watched my husband stand up at the head of the table. Brandon cleared his throat, and the entire private dining room fell silent. 30 people, our closest friends, family, and his work colleagues, all turned their attention to him. I smiled, expecting him to thank me for planning this elaborate surprise party. After all, I had spent 3 months organizing every detail of his 35th birthday celebration. I had paid $10,000 just to reserve this exclusive private room at Meridian, the most expensive restaurant in the city. Brandon raised his glass higher, and candlelight danced across the crystal. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight," he began, his voice warm and genuine. My heart swelled with anticipation. This past year has been incredible, and I couldn't have done it without the support of some very special people. I straightened in my chair, ready to receive his acknowledgement. We had been married for 7 years. 7 years of building a life together, of supporting his career moves, of being his partner through everything. But Brandon's eyes didn't find mine. Instead, he turned to his left, where Simone Patterson sat in a sleek black dress, her hair perfectly styled, her lips curved in a knowing smile. She worked in his department, his work wife, as everyone jokingly called her. I had laughed along with that joke for months, never feeling threatened. Why would I? I was his actual wife. "Simone," Brandon said, and something in his voice made my stomach drop. "I don't think I tell you enough how much you mean to me. You make every single day at work worth living. When I'm stressed or doubting myself, you're there with exactly the right words. You understand me in a way that's rare and precious." The room had gone from casually quiet to uncomfortably silent. I could feel people glancing at me, then quickly looking away. My best friend Tasha, sitting 2 seats down, had frozen with her wine glass halfway to her lips, her eyes wide with shock. Brandon continued, completely oblivious to the tension he was creating. "You've been my rock this year, and I honestly don't know what I'd do without you. To Simone, the person who truly gets me." He clinked his glass against hers. She blushed and whispered something I couldn't hear, but I saw her hand briefly touch his arm. The gesture was too familiar. Too intimate. Everyone else reluctantly raised their glasses and took awkward sips. I sat frozen, my champagne untouched, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and grabbed my heart with an ice-cold fist. My mother was staring at me from across the table, her expression a mixture of pity and concern. Brandon's brother looked uncomfortable, suddenly very interested in his phone. The other work colleagues, the ones I had personally called to invite, the ones I had arranged transportation for, were exchanging glances that told me everything I needed to know. They had seen this coming. They had watched Brandon and Simone grow closer. They had noticed things I had been too busy or too trusting to see. And now they were all witnesses to my humiliation at a party I had planned and paid for. Brandon finally sat down, looking pleased with himself. He reached over to squeeze Simone's hand before picking up his menu. He hadn't even looked at me. Hadn't acknowledged me. Hadn't thanked me for the surprise party, for the expensive venue, for the custom menu I had spent hours planning with the chef, for the $300 bottle of whiskey sitting in front of him wrapped in elegant paper. I looked down at my own hands. They were shaking. The diamond on my ring finger, the one I had helped pay for because Brandon had been between jobs when he proposed, caught the light and mocked me. Tasha leaned over and whispered, "Naomi, are you okay?" I couldn't answer. If I opened my mouth, I might scream or cry or both. Instead, I carefully set down my champagne glass, picked up my purse and stood up. Everyone's eyes turned to me. "Excuse me," I managed to say, my voice surprisingly steady. "I need some air." I walked out of the private dining room with my head high, feeling 30 pairs of eyes on my back. Once I reached the restaurant's elegant hallway, I kept walking. Past the main dining area. Past the hostess stand. Out the front door into the cool night air. The valet looked at me expectantly, but I shook my head and kept walking until I reached my car in the parking garage. Only then, sitting alone in the driver's seat of the BMW I had bought with my own promotion bonus, did I let myself feel it. The betrayal. The humiliation. The absolute disrespect. I had planned a birthday party for my husband, and he had used it to publicly declare his feelings for another woman. He had done it in front of our families, our friends and his colleagues. He had done it without a second thought about how it would make me feel. My phone started buzzing. Text after text. Tasha asking where I was. My mother asking if I was all right. Even Brandon's brother sent a message. That was messed up. "I'm sorry." But nothing from Brandon himself. I sat there for 20 minutes before my phone finally rang with his name. I answered, my voice cold. "Yes." "Naomi, where did you go?" People are asking about you. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just annoyance that I had disrupted his party. I left, I said flatly. What? We're about to do the cake. Come back. The cake I had ordered. With his favorite flavors. That cost $400. I'm going home, Brandon. Now. But the party isn't over. This is my birthday. My birthday. Not our celebration. Not the event I had planned. My birthday. Enjoy your party, I said and hung up. I drove home through blurry eyes, replaying every moment of that toast in my mind. The way he looked at her. The words he chose. The complete disregard for me. When I walked into our house, the house I had bought because my income qualified for the mortgage when his didn't, I saw everything differently. This wasn't our home. This was my home that he lived in. The furniture I had mostly paid for. The decorations I had chosen. The life I had built that he simply inhabited. I walked into our bedroom and saw his laptop sitting open on the desk. He never closed it properly, always leaving it in sleep mode. I had never snooped before. I had never felt the need to. I trusted him completely. But trust was now broken, shattered by a champagne toast I had paid for. I sat down at the desk and moved the mouse. The screen lit up, showing his email inbox. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew it was wrong. But I also knew that what I had witnessed tonight wasn't innocent. That toast wasn't just friendly appreciation. My hands shook as I scrolled through his emails. I didn't have to look far. The most recent ones were all there. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, baby. Last night was amazing. You're amazing. I know we said we'd wait, but I can't stop thinking about our future together. Every email was to or from Simone Patterson. Every email was proof that my marriage was a lie. I sat at Brandon's desk until 3 in the morning, and with every click of the mouse, my old life fell apart. Email after email. Text after text. A complete digital diary of my husband's betrayal, all lit up on the screen in front of me. The earliest message I could find was from 8 months ago. Just a simple, thanks for your help on the presentation today. Normal. Professional. But then they got more frequent. More personal. By month 2 they were eating lunch together every day. By month 3 he was calling her S with a heart emoji. By month 4 the messages turned explicitly romantic. I've never felt this way before. You make me want to be a better person. I think I'm falling in love with you. I had to run to the bathroom to throw up. When I came back I forced myself to keep reading. I needed to know everything. I needed to see the full picture of what my marriage had become. There were photos. So many photos. Them at a work conference in Miami, a conference I had encouraged Brandon to attend, even paying for his new suits for the trip because he said it was important for his career. They weren't just at conference sessions. They were on the beach at sunset. They were having dinner at romantic restaurants. They were in a hotel room, her head on his shoulder. My hands trembled so badly I could barely scroll. I had been home alone during that conference, working late hours to cover a major project deadline. I remembered calling him one night and he said he couldn't talk long because he had an important networking dinner. That dinner was with Simone, at a steakhouse that cost more per plate than most people's weekly groceries. The text messages were worse than the emails. More immediate. More raw. More real. Brandon, I hate lying to her, but I don't know how to tell her. Simone, I know, baby. We'll figure it out together. She'll understand eventually. Brandon, I don't think she will. She's going to be devastated. Simone, but you're not happy. She has to see that. Brandon, she doesn't see anything. She's always working, always busy with her career. We barely talk anymore. I had to read that last line 3 times. I was always working? I was the one who made time for date nights that he canceled. I was the one who asked about his day and got one-word answers. I was the one who suggested couples activities that he said he was too tired for. I kept scrolling. I found a whole conversation where they discussed me like I was the problem in their love story. Brandon, she's not a bad person. She's just not the right person for me anymore. Simone, you've grown and changed. That's not your fault. Brandon, I feel guilty though. She does a lot for me. Simone, you deserve to be happy. We both do. Brandon, soon. Just need to wait for the right time. The right time. They were planning to tell me. They were planning their future while I was planning Brandon's surprise party. I found receipts saved in his email. Flowers he sent to Simone's apartment. Hotel rooms charged to the credit card I had added him to as an authorized user, the one connected to my account. Dinners at expensive restaurants. A weekend trip to Napa Valley that he told me was a guy's golf weekend with his brother. I had paid for my own betrayal. Every time I got a promotion or a bonus, every time I transferred money into our joint account for household expenses, I was funding his affair. My success had bankrolled his deceit. There were conversations about me that made my blood run cold. Brandon, she got another promotion. More money, more responsibility. Simone, that's good though, right? Brandon, I guess. But now she'll want to work even more. She's obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder. Simone, at least you have me to come home to, even if it's just at the office right now. Brandon, you're the only thing that makes my days bearable. I thought about all the times I had celebrated my career wins with him. How I had been so proud to share my success. How I had believed we were a team working toward shared goals. He had smiled and hugged me and said he was proud. Then he went to work and complained to his girlfriend about how my achievements made him feel small. The worst part was reading how they talked about their future together. They had plans. Real plans. Brandon, once we're together, really together, we can travel. Do all the things I've always wanted to do. Simone, where do you want to go first? Brandon, Paris. I've always dreamed of Paris. I had suggested Paris for our 5th anniversary. He said it was too expensive, too far, too much hassle. But he wanted to go with Simone. He dreamed of it with her. Around 2 in the morning, I found his phone charging next to the bed. I knew his passcode. It was our wedding anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. I unlocked it and found even more messages. Recent ones. From tonight. Simone, are you okay? That was so awkward. Brandon, I don't know what her problem is. She just left. Simone, maybe she's upset about the toast? Brandon, why would she be upset? I was just being nice to you. Simone, I know, baby. She's probably just in a mood. Brandon, she's been weird lately. Distant. Simone, maybe she knows something. Brandon, no way. I've been careful. Simone, want me to come over after? Keep you company since she ruined your birthday? Brandon, better not. She'll probably be home. Tomorrow though? Simone, can't wait. Love you. Brandon, love you too. He was still at the party I had planned and paid for, making plans to see his girlfriend tomorrow while texting her that he loved her. I took photos of everything. Every email. Every text. Every receipt. I used my phone to document every piece of evidence I could find. My hands moved mechanically while my brain tried to process what my marriage had become. By the time I heard Brandon's car pull into the driveway at 3:30 in the morning, I had everything I needed. I had closed his laptop, put his phone back on the charger and moved to the living room couch. I sat there in the dark, dry-eyed and numb. Brandon stumbled in, slightly drunk from the party I had paid for. Naomi? Why are you sitting in the dark? I turned on the lamp beside me. How was the rest of your party? He squinted at the light, loosening his tie, the tie I had bought him last Christmas. It was fine. Everyone missed you though. Why did you leave like that? Did they miss me? Or were they just uncomfortable watching my husband toast another woman? Brandon's expression flickered with something, guilt, annoyance, I couldn't tell. That's what this is about? I was just thanking a colleague. Don't be dramatic. Don't be dramatic. I had caught him in an 8-month affair and I was being dramatic. Come to bed, he said, heading toward the bedroom. We can talk about this tomorrow when you're being rational. I watched him walk away, this man I had loved for 9 years, married for 7. This man whose life I had helped build, whose dreams I had supported, whose comfort I had prioritized over my own. He thought I was being irrational. He thought this would blow over. He had no idea that I had already seen everything. That I knew about every lie, every secret meeting, every stolen moment with Simone. He had no idea that while he slept peacefully in our bed, I was planning my next move. Because I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to pick me. I was going to make sure he regretted ever taking me for granted. At 4 in the morning, I texted Tasha, "Are you awake?" Her response came 30 seconds later, "Now I am." "Are you okay? Where are you?" "Home. Can you come over?" "On my way." Tasha had been my best friend since college. She was a family law attorney, which suddenly felt like fate. She arrived at my house 25 minutes later in sweatpants and a hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, carrying 2 coffees from the 24-hour place near her apartment. "Talk to me," she said as soon as I opened the door. I let her in and locked the door behind us. Brandon was asleep upstairs, oblivious to the storm forming beneath his roof. I led Tasha to the kitchen and showed her my phone. Hundreds of screenshots. Proof of everything. She scrolled through them, her expression growing darker with each swipe. When she finally looked up, her eyes were fierce. How long? 8 months. That son of a, she cut herself off, taking a deep breath. Okay, first things first. How are you doing? I'm past crying. Now I'm angry. Good. Anger is useful. It keeps you focused. She set down her phone and pulled out a notepad from her bag. Even at 4 in the morning, Tasha came prepared. Let's talk facts. Who owns the house? Me. It's only in my name. He didn't qualify for the mortgage. Cars. Both in my name. I have better credit. Joint accounts. 1. But most of our money is in my personal account. He has access to the joint account, but I'm the primary holder. Tasha was writing everything down. How much does he contribute to household expenses? Maybe 30%. I make 3 times what he does. Assets? Investments? All mine. I had them before we got married and I kept them separate. For the first time since the toast, I felt something other than hurt. I felt powerful. Because I had been smart. Not because I expected this, but because I had always been independent. I had always maintained my own financial identity. Here's what we're going to do, Tasha said, her attorney voice taking over. First, we document everything. You've already started that. Good. We need to save all of this to multiple locations, cloud storage, external drive, everything. We need dates, times, amounts spent. Every hotel receipt, every dinner, every lie. I nodded, hanging on every word. Second, you need to protect yourself financially. Tomorrow, well, today I guess you're going to open a new bank account at a different bank. Transfer most of your personal money there. Leave enough in the joint account to avoid suspicion, but protect your assets. Won't he notice? Not if you're smart about it. Keep your regular expenses the same. Just redirect your direct deposit and move your savings. What about the house? The house is yours. You're the sole owner. But we need to document all improvements and who paid for them. Do you have records? I pulled up my digital filing system on my laptop. Every receipt, every home improvement, every furniture purchase, all organized by date and category. I keep everything. Tasha smiled. Of course you do. You're an absolute legend. This is going to make everything so much easier. We spent the next 2 hours building my case. Tasha explained divorce law in our state, which was fortunately a no-fault state, meaning I didn't need to prove adultery to get divorced, but the evidence would help if Brandon tried to claim he deserved any of my assets. The good news is that most of your major assets are separate property, Tasha explained. The house, your investments, your retirement accounts, those are yours. The joint account might be split, but that's minimal compared to your overall wealth. Any debt in his name alone stays with him. He has credit card debt, I remembered. About $15,000. I offered to help him pay it off last year, but he said he'd handle it. That's his problem then. You're not responsible for it. As the sun started to rise, I felt something shifting inside me. The devastation was still there, but it was being joined by something else, determination, clarity, strength. I don't just want a divorce, I told Tasha. I want him to understand what he's losing. I want him to see exactly what he threw away. Tasha looked at me with a mix of concern and pride. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about that dinner. How he humiliated me in front of everyone. How he made me look like a fool at a party I planned and paid for. Revenge isn't always the best path. I'm not talking about anything illegal or cruel. I'm talking about making sure everyone knows the truth. He controlled the narrative tonight. I want to control it from now on. Tasha was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Tell me your plan. I did. I laid it all out. How I would act normal for the next few weeks while I got everything in order. How I would gather more evidence if needed. How I would let Brandon think everything was fine, that I was just being emotional about the toast but getting over it. And then I would throw my own dinner. My own public event. Where I would control the narrative. Where the truth would come out in a way that couldn't be denied or downplayed. Are you sure about this? Tasha asked. Public confrontation can backfire. He made this public when he toasted another woman at his birthday party. I'm just finishing what he started. We heard movement upstairs. Brandon was waking up. Tasha quickly gathered her things. I'll start preparing the divorce papers, she whispered. Don't tell him anything yet. And Naomi? Change all your passwords. Bank accounts, credit cards, email, everything. Do it today. After Tasha left, I went upstairs and found Brandon in the shower. I sat on the bed planning my performance. When he came out, towel around his waist, I forced a smile. I'm sorry about last night, I said, the words tasting bitter. I was just tired and overwhelmed. He looked relieved. It's okay. I know you worked hard on the party. It was great, by the way. Everyone had fun. Everyone except your wife, I thought. I'm glad. Listen, I was thinking we should do something nice. Maybe host a dinner party here? Kind of a thank you to everyone who came? Brandon's eyes lit up. That's a great idea. When were you thinking? In a couple of weeks? I'll plan everything. Perfect. You're the best at planning things. He kissed my forehead, completely unaware that I was planning the end of his comfortable life. Over the next 2 weeks, I was the perfect wife. I made his favorite meals. I asked about his day. I laughed at his jokes. I even suggested he invite Simone to the upcoming dinner party, since she's such a good friend and colleague. Brandon never suspected a thing. Why would he? I had always been understanding, always accommodating, always putting his needs first. But every night while he slept beside me, I was planning, taking screenshots, moving money, changing passwords, talking to Tasha, meeting with an attorney, preparing for the moment when I would stop being the woman everyone could walk over and become the woman who walked away with her head held high. Brandon thought he was keeping secrets, but I was keeping the biggest secret of all. I knew everything, and I was about to burn his world down. The restaurant manager remembered me. How could he forget? I had spent $10,000 there just 2 weeks ago. When I called to reserve the same private dining room, he was eager to accommodate me. Another celebration? He asked cheerfully. Something like that, I said. I need the room next Saturday. And I need you to trust me on some specific setup requirements. I transferred another $8,000 as a deposit. This time I used my new personal account, the one Brandon knew nothing about. This party wasn't coming out of our joint funds. This was all mine. I sent invitations to everyone who had attended Brandon's birthday party. His parents, his brother, his work colleagues including his boss, our mutual friends, my family, and yes, Simone Patterson. The invitation said, "Join us for a celebration of truth and new beginnings." Several people texted asking what the occasion was. I kept it vague. Just want to gather everyone together for something special. Tasha was the only one who knew the full plan. She arrived at the restaurant 2 hours early to help me set up. We had prepared a video, 10 minutes of carefully curated screenshots, set to music, text messages, emails, photos of Brandon and Simone together, hotel receipts, all the evidence I had gathered, edited into a presentation that told the complete story of my husband's 8-month affair. Are you absolutely sure about this? Tasha asked as we did a test run of the video on the restaurant's projection screen. Once you do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. He made a public fool of me. Now everyone gets to see who he really is. The guests started arriving at 7. I had positioned myself at the entrance of the private dining room, greeting everyone with a smile. I was wearing a stunning red dress, one I had bought just for tonight. My hair was perfect. My makeup was flawless. I looked confident and beautiful, and I wanted everyone to remember this version of me. Brandon arrived with Simone. That was bold even for him. He had told me he was bringing some work friends, and I had encouraged it. I watched them walk in together, her hand briefly touching his back. Such a casual gesture, but full of meaning. Everyone's here? Brandon asked, looking around the room with satisfaction. He thought this was another party I had thrown for him, another event where he was the center of attention. Everyone who matters, I replied. Dinner was served. I had ordered premium steaks, expensive wine, decadent desserts. I wanted everyone comfortable and relaxed before the main event. I made small talk. I laughed at jokes. I played the perfect hostess. Brandon kept giving me approving looks, pleased that I had gotten over my emotional reaction from his birthday. Simone sat across the table from me next to Brandon. She kept glancing at me nervously, like she knew something was off but couldn't figure out what. Good. Let her be uncomfortable. After dessert was served, I stood up and tapped my wine glass. The room fell silent. Thank you all so much for coming tonight, I began, my voice steady and clear. I know some of you were confused by the invitation. A celebration of truth and new beginnings, what does that mean, right? A few people laughed. Brandon smiled at me, completely clueless. Well, I wanted to gather you all here because 2 weeks ago, something happened at Brandon's birthday party that changed my life. And I believe in the truth. I believe in honesty. And I believe that new beginnings require us to be clear about endings. I could feel the mood in the room shifting. People were paying closer attention now. Brandon's smile was fading. So I want to show you all something. I promise it won't take long, and then we can all enjoy the rest of our evening. I nodded to Tasha, who was standing by the restaurant's control panel. The lights dimmed. The projection screen lit up. The video began. It started with a simple title card, "The Truth About Brandon and Simone." Then the messages started appearing. Large enough for everyone to read. Clear enough that no one could claim they misunderstood. I've never felt this way before. You make me want to be a better person. I think I'm falling in love with you. Each message was time-stamped. Each one was clearly from Brandon's account to Simone's. There was no way to deny it. The room was dead silent except for the soft music playing under the presentation. I watched faces change. Brandon's mother covered her mouth with her hand. His boss's expression went from confused to shocked to angry. My own mother started crying quietly. The video showed their photos together. Beach sunsets. Romantic dinners. Hotel room selfies. Every image was dated, proof of 8 months of deception. Then came the receipts. Hotel rooms charged to my credit card. Flowers sent to Simone's address. Dinners at restaurants I had never been to. The final section showed their discussions about me. About how I was always working, and didn't understand Brandon anymore. About how they were waiting for the right time to tell me. About their plans for a future together once they got rid of the obstacle in their way, me. The video ended with a final title card. All of this happened while I planned and paid for his birthday party, where he toasted her instead of me. I deserve better. We all deserve the truth. The lights came back up. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I looked at Brandon. His face had gone from red to white. He looked like he might throw up. Next to him, Simone had tears streaming down her face. "Naomi," Brandon started to stand up. "Sit down," I said calmly. "I'm not done." He sat. I pulled a folder from my bag and set it on the table in front of him. "These are divorce papers. They'll be officially served to you tomorrow, but I wanted you to see them now. In front of everyone who watched you humiliate me 2 weeks ago." Brandon's hands shook as he opened the folder. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. Everything you own is in my name. The house, the cars, everything. I've already moved my money to accounts you can't access. Your name has been removed as an authorized user on my credit cards. As of tomorrow morning, your direct deposit from work will be going to an account I don't have access to, so you'll finally be paying your own bills." I turned to address the room. "I'm sorry you all had to witness this, but I think honesty is important. Brandon made our relationship public when he toasted another woman at his own birthday party. I'm just finishing what he started. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your meal. It's already paid for." Brandon stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "This is insane. You can't just." "I already did. The papers are filed. My attorney will contact you about the details." Simone finally found her voice. "This is humiliating. You had no right." I turned to her, and something in my expression made her stop talking. "I had no right? I paid for the trip where you two started your affair. I paid for the hotels where you slept together. I paid for the dinners where you made plans to leave me. Every single moment of your relationship was funded by me while I was at home working late or planning surprise parties. So don't talk to me about rights." My mother stood up and came to my side. "Come on, honey. You've said what needed to be said. Let's go." I nodded. I had done what I came to do. As I walked toward the door, I heard voices erupting behind me. Brandon's mother demanding answers. His boss saying something about professional conduct. Simone crying. But I didn't look back. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high, my mother on one side and Tasha on the other. "That was the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed," Tasha whispered. "It needed to be done. What happens now?" "Now," I said, breathing in the cool night air, "I start my new life." Behind me I could hear shouting. I could hear Brandon calling my name. But I was done listening. I was done caring. I was done being the woman who put everyone else first. I got into my car and drove away from that restaurant, away from my husband, away from the life that had been built on lies. I was driving towards something better. I just didn't know what yet. The video went viral by Sunday morning. Someone at the dinner, I never found out who, recorded my presentation on their phone and posted it online. By the time I woke up, it had been shared thousands of times. "Woman exposes cheating husband at dinner party she paid for," was trending across multiple platforms. My phone was exploding with messages. Some from people I knew, others from complete strangers. The reactions were mixed but mostly supportive. "You're my hero. This is the pettiest thing I've ever seen and I love it. I wish I had your courage." But there were also negative comments. People saying I should have handled it privately. People calling me dramatic or vengeful. People claiming I was just as bad as Brandon for airing dirty laundry in public. I turned off my phone and made coffee. Tasha came over around noon with bagels and the Sunday paper. "You're famous," she said, showing me her phone. The video was everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, even local news websites were covering it. "I didn't expect this," I admitted. The internet loves a good revenge story. Especially when someone documents everything so thoroughly. She paused. "How are you feeling?" "Honestly? Free. Like I've been carrying a weight and finally put it down. Brandon's been calling me. A lot. His attorney too." "What are they saying?" "That you blindsided him. That you humiliated him publicly. That you violated his privacy by sharing private messages." I laughed. Felt good to laugh. The man who had an 8-month affair is worried about privacy? That's what I told them. "Look, Naomi, they might try to drag this out or make you look bad. But you have all the evidence. You kept meticulous records. And honestly, the public support is going to work in your favor if this gets messy." Over the next week, the fallout continued. Brandon was fired from his job, not because of the affair exactly, but because the video had included internal company messages on company time, and his boss decided it reflected poorly on the firm. Simone transferred to another branch in a different city to escape the attention. Brandon's parents called me. His mother cried and apologized, saying she had raised her son better than this. His father was angry at Brandon, not me, and said I had every right to do what I did. My own parents were proud of me, though my mother worried about the public nature of it all. "I just hope you don't regret this when emotions aren't so high," she said. "I won't," I assured her. He embarrassed me in front of everyone. I just showed everyone why. Brandon tried to come to the house several times, but I had changed the locks and installed a security camera. Each time he showed up, I watched him on my phone app. He would knock. Wait. Sometimes shout my name. Then eventually leave. Once he left a note saying we needed to talk. I threw it away without reading it. The divorce moved forward quickly. Brandon wanted to fight for the house, the cars, part of my retirement accounts. His attorney tried to claim he deserved compensation for emotional distress and public humiliation. Tasha shut that down immediately. "Your client had an 8-month affair that he conducted partially using resources his wife provided. He publicly disrespected her at an event she planned and paid for. If anyone has grounds for emotional distress, it's my client. And she's not even asking for that, she just wants to keep what's legally hers. Because I had kept everything separate, because the house was solely in my name, because I had documented everything, there was very little Brandon could claim. The judge looked at the evidence, all of it, and ruled in my favor on every point. The joint bank account would be split equally. Brandon kept his car and his personal belongings. I kept everything else: the house, my car, my investments, my retirement accounts, my peace of mind. 2 months after the dinner, the divorce was final. I was officially Naomi Wright again. I had never changed my last name to his during the marriage, another thing I was grateful for now. Tasha and I went out to celebrate. We went to a nice restaurant, not Meridian, I would never go back there, and ordered expensive wine. "How does it feel?" she asked, raising her glass. "Weird. Good. Sad. Relieved. All of it at once. That's normal. Divorce is grief even when you know it's the right choice. I keep thinking about the time I wasted. 7 years of marriage, 2 years of dating before that. 9 years of my life with someone who didn't really love me. Or maybe he did love you in his way, but he loved himself more. Some people are like that. They can't help but prioritize their own wants over everything else." I thought about that. Maybe it was true. Maybe Brandon had loved me but just not enough to be faithful. Not enough to respect me. Not enough to choose me over his own impulses. I'm not going to let this make me bitter, I decided. I'm not going to let him take any more from me than he already has. Good. Because you have so much ahead of you. You're young, successful, beautiful, and now you're free. Over the next few months, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I redecorated the house completely, new paint in every room, new furniture, new energy. I threw out everything that reminded me of Brandon or our marriage. Pictures, gifts, even the stupid coffee mug he bought me once that said, "World's Best Wife." I wasn't his wife anymore, and I didn't want to be the world's best anything except myself. I focused on work. I took on bigger projects, longer hours. I got another promotion, Senior Vice President of Marketing. My salary jumped by $40,000. When I told Tasha, she laughed. "You're literally thriving while he's living in his brother's basement." Is he really? That's what I heard. Can't afford his own place. I should have felt satisfaction from that. Instead, I just felt empty. Revenge had felt good in the moment. Exposing him had been necessary. But now that it was done, now that the dust had settled, I realized I didn't care about Brandon anymore. He was becoming a stranger. A mistake I had learned from. I started going to therapy. Not because I was falling apart, but because I wanted to understand how I had missed the signs. How I had been so blind to what was happening. My therapist asked me hard questions. Did you prioritize your career over your marriage? I worked hard. But I always made time for him. Did you though? Or did you make time when it was convenient? That bothered me. Are you saying this was my fault? Not at all. His affair was his choice. But I'm asking if you were truly present in the marriage, or if you were going through the motions. I thought about it for days. The truth was complicated. Yes, I had worked long hours. Yes, I had been ambitious and driven. But I had also loved Brandon. I had planned dates and surprised him with gifts and supported his dreams. I had been a partner in every way I knew how. The problem was that Brandon wanted something I couldn't give him, constant attention and validation. He wanted to be the center of my universe, and I had wanted to be my own center while also having him in my orbit. Maybe that was the real issue. Not that either of us was wrong, but that we wanted different things and neither of us was honest about it. 6 months after the divorce, I was different. Stronger. More sure of myself. I had learned I could handle anything. I had learned I didn't need someone else to complete me. I had learned that being alone was better than being with someone who didn't value me. I went on a few dates. Nothing serious. Just testing the waters, seeing if I was ready. I wasn't. Not yet. But I was getting there. One Friday night, I was at home alone, drinking wine and reading a book, when my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera and saw Brandon standing there. He looked different, thinner, older, tired. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Hi, he said. Brandon. Can we talk? We have nothing to talk about. Please. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let him in. We stood in the entryway. I didn't offer him a seat or a drink. This wasn't a social visit. I made a huge mistake, he said. The biggest mistake of my life. I know. Simone and I didn't work out. She moved away. And I lost my job. And my family barely speaks to me. Everything fell apart. That's not my problem. I know. I know it's not. I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Truly sorry. What I did was wrong. How I treated you was wrong. You deserved so much better. I did. Is there any chance? No. He flinched like I had hit him. You don't even want to hear what I was going to say. I don't need to. Whatever you were going to ask, the answer is no. We're done, Brandon. We've been done for a long time, even before the divorce. I loved you. No, you loved what I did for you. You loved the life I built for us. You loved having a wife who worked hard so you could live comfortably. But you didn't love me. If you had loved me, you wouldn't have done what you did. Tears were running down his face. I know. You're right. About all of it. You need to leave now. Naomi, Goodbye, Brandon. I held the door open. After a long moment, he walked through it. I closed it behind him and locked it, then watched on my security camera as he got in his car and drove away. I should have felt something. Vindication or satisfaction or even pity. But I felt nothing. He was just a person I used to know. A chapter that was closed. I poured myself another glass of wine, returned to my book, and let myself enjoy the peace of my home. My house. My life. My future. 10 months after the divorce, I did something I never thought I would do. I took a vacation alone. Not a business trip. Not a weekend getaway with friends. A real vacation. 2 weeks in Bali, Indonesia. Just me, a suitcase, and no plans except to relax. Tasha thought I was crazy. You're going halfway around the world by yourself. That's the point. I've never done anything like this before. What if something happens? Then I'll handle it. I'm good at handling things. The truth was, I needed to prove something to myself. That I could be alone without being lonely. That I could enjoy life without needing someone else to validate the experience. The flight was long but peaceful. I read 2 books, watched 3 movies, and slept better than I had in months. When I landed in Denpasar, the humidity hit me like a wall, but the warmth felt good. Different? No. I had booked a small villa near Ubud, nothing extravagant, but private and beautiful. Rice terraces outside my window. A small pool. Complete peace. For the first 3 days, I did nothing but sleep and read and eat. I hadn't realized how exhausted I was until I stopped moving. The divorce, the video, the scandal, work, it had all taken more out of me than I acknowledged. On the fourth day, I ventured out to explore. I went to local markets and bought handmade jewelry. I visited temples and learned about Balinese culture. I took a cooking class and learned to make traditional dishes I would probably never make again but enjoyed learning anyway. And on the fifth day I met Julian. I was sitting at a beachfront cafe in Seminyak, drinking fresh coconut water and watching the sunset. The beach was crowded with tourists and locals, everyone enjoying the perfect evening. A man approached my table. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I looked up, ready to say yes just to maintain my solitude. But then I actually looked at him. He was tall with dark brown skin, warm brown eyes, and a genuine smile. He wore casual linen clothes and had a camera bag slung over his shoulder. "No, it's free," I heard myself say. "Thank you. I'm Julian." He held out his hand. "Naomi." I shook it. "Beautiful sunset, isn't it?" "It really is. Are you a photographer?" He glanced at his camera bag. "Hobby more than profession. I run an ecotourism company actually. I'm here scouting locations for potential tour packages." "That sounds interesting." "It is when you love travel and nature." "What brings you to Bali?" "Just needed to get away for a while." He nodded like he understood without needing details. "Sometimes that's the best reason to travel. No agenda, just experience." We talked for 2 hours. He told me about his company, about places he had visited, about his philosophy that travel changes people for the better. I told him about my work in marketing, about loving my job but needing a break from real life. I didn't mention the divorce or Brandon or any of the drama. This was a fresh start, even if temporary. "Would you want to explore the island together tomorrow?" Julian asked as the cafe was closing. "I'm checking out some waterfalls in the north. Could use some company, and it's not the kind of place you want to navigate alone." I hesitated. This felt like something old Naomi would say no to. Old Naomi would stick to her careful plans and not trust strangers. But old Naomi had missed a lot of life being careful. "I'd like that," I said. The next day Julian picked me up in a rented Jeep. We drove through winding mountain roads, past rice paddies and small villages, until we reached a secluded waterfall that tourists rarely visited. The water was crystal clear and cold. We swam and talked and laughed. He asked thoughtful questions. Not prying but genuinely interested. "What's something you've always wanted to do but never made time for?" "Learn to surf. Visit every continent. Write a book even though I'm not a writer. Take more risks." "What kind of risks?" "Just being spontaneous. Saying yes to things that scare me a little. I've spent so much of my life being responsible and planning everything. Sometimes I wonder what I missed by playing it safe." "You're in Bali alone. That seems pretty spontaneous." "It's a start." Over the next week Julian and I were inseparable. We explored temples in the rain. We took a sunrise hike up Mount Batur. We learned to make offerings from a local family. We tried every food we could find. We talked about everything: dreams, failures, beliefs, fears. He told me he had been engaged once but called it off when he realized they wanted completely different futures. She wanted stability and routine. He wanted adventure and change. Neither was wrong, but they were wrong for each other. "Do you regret it?" I asked. "Calling off the engagement?" "No. It was the right choice. But I regret hurting her. She's a good person. Just not my person." I appreciated his honesty. The way he took responsibility for his choices without making himself the victim. On my last night in Bali, we had dinner at a cliffside restaurant overlooking the ocean. The waves crashed below us and stars filled the sky above. "I'm really glad I met you," Julian said. "This week has been incredible." "For me too. Can I ask you something? And you can tell me to mind my own business if you want." "Okay." "You seem like someone running away from something. Not in a bad way. Just like you're trying to find yourself again." I was surprised by his perception. "What makes you say that?" "You talk about your life like it's someone else's. Your job, your achievements, your home, you list them like resume items, not like things that bring you joy. And when you laugh, it's like you're surprised at yourself, like you forgot you could." Tears suddenly filled my eyes. I blinked them back. "I got divorced 10 months ago. From a man who cheated on me for almost a year. I found out in the most public, humiliating way possible." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm better off now. But you're right, I'm trying to figure out who I am outside of that relationship. Outside of work. Outside of being the person everyone expects me to be." "And have you figured it out?" "I'm getting there. This trip has helped." Julian reached across the table and took my hand. Not in a romantic way exactly, but in a gesture of support. For what it's worth, I think you're doing great. The woman I've gotten to know this week is funny and smart and brave. She doesn't seem lost. She seems free. My last night in Bali, Julian walked me back to my villa. At the door there was a moment where we both hesitated. "I'd like to see you again," he said. "If you're open to that." "You're in." I realized I didn't know where he lived. "Atlanta. And you?" "Philadelphia. So not exactly neighbors. But not impossible either." I smiled. "Not impossible." He kissed my cheek, gentle and respectful. "Have a safe flight home, Naomi. Text me when you land." "I will." As I watched him walk away, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not for a relationship necessarily, I wasn't ready for that. But hope that maybe, just maybe, there were good men in the world. Men who listened and respected boundaries and made you feel valued without making you feel dependent. The flight home was bittersweet. I was excited to get back to my life, my job, my friends, my home. But I was sad to leave behind the version of myself I had discovered in Bali. The woman who said yes to adventures. Who laughed easily. Who didn't carry the weight of other people's betrayals. When I landed in Philadelphia, I had a text from Julian. "Hope you had a smooth flight. I'm planning a trip to Philly next month for work. Would love to take you to dinner if you're free." I smiled at my phone. "I'd like that." As I drove home from the airport, I thought about everything that had changed in less than a year. I had lost a husband. Lost a marriage. Lost the life I thought I wanted. But I had gained something more valuable. I had gained myself back. 9 months after I returned from Bali, I was living a life I barely recognized. In the best way possible. Julian and I had been dating for about 4 months. Long distance was challenging. He lived in Atlanta, I was in Philadelphia, but we made it work. We visited each other twice a month, and he was planning to open an office in Philly in the next 6 months. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was forced. It just felt right. Work was better than ever. I had just closed a deal that would bring in $15 million in new business. My boss called me into her office and told me they were considering me for executive vice president. At 33, I would be the youngest person to ever hold that position in our company's history. I was happy. Really, genuinely happy. And then Brandon showed up at my house on a Wednesday evening. I saw him through my security camera before he even rang the bell. He looked worse than the last time I had seen him. His hair was longer, unkempt. He had lost weight. His clothes looked wrinkled, like he had slept in them. I considered not answering. But something about his body language made me open the door. He looked defeated in a way that went beyond embarrassment or regret. "Brandon." "Naomi. Thank you for opening the door. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want? Can we talk? Please?" I should have said no. Should have closed the door and gone back to my evening. But there was something in his eyes, desperation mixed with shame, that made me step aside and let him in. We stood in my living room. I didn't offer him a seat. Didn't offer him anything to drink. This wasn't a social call. "I lost my job," he said without preamble. "You told me that before. I mean my new job. The one I got after everything. They let me go last month." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Simone left me. Moved to Seattle with someone else. Said I was too much drama. The woman I destroyed my marriage for called me too much drama. Brandon. I'm broke. I'm living with my brother and his wife and they're getting tired of me. My parents are disappointed in me. My friends don't want to hang out anymore. I'm 36 years old and my life is falling apart. What do you want me to say? I don't know. That you forgive me? That you understand I was stupid and selfish? That you'll give me another chance?" I stared at him. "Are you serious right now? I know it sounds crazy. It sounds insane. You want me to forgive you? Fine. I forgive you. Not for you, for me. Because I'm tired of carrying anger around. You want me to understand you were stupid and selfish? I already do. That's obvious. But if you think I'm giving you another chance, you're delusional. Naomi, please? No. Listen to me carefully. I don't hate you anymore. Hate requires caring and I don't care about you anymore. You're just someone I used to know. Someone who taught me an important lesson about what I deserve and what I won't tolerate. I love you. I never stopped loving you. You don't love me. You love the life we had. You love that I made good money and took care of things. You love that I was reliable and supportive while you did whatever you wanted. That's not love. That's convenience. His face crumbled. You've moved on. You've met someone else. How do you know that? I saw pictures. On social media. You look happy. I'm happy. For the first time in years, I'm genuinely happy. Because I chose myself. I chose my own peace and my own future over trying to fix something that was broken from the start. We could fix it now. Brandon, stop. Just stop. There is no we anymore. There hasn't been for a long time. Even before I found out about Simone, we weren't really together. We were just two people living in the same house, going through the motions. That's not true. It is true. Be honest. When was the last time we had a real conversation? When was the last time you asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? When was the last time you made me feel like I mattered to you? He couldn't answer. You took me for granted. You assumed I would always be there, always be supportive, always be your safety net while you looked for something better. And when you found someone who gave you attention and made you feel special, you chose her without a second thought about what you were destroying. I know all of that. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Naomi. I believe you're sorry. But being sorry doesn't change anything. It doesn't erase what you did. It doesn't rebuild trust. And honestly, I don't want to rebuild anything with you. Because of him? This new guy. Because of me. I like who I am now. I like my life. I like waking up every day without wondering if my partner is lying to me. I like making decisions based on what I want instead of what someone else needs. I like being with someone who values me and respects me and never makes me feel like I'm not enough. I always thought you were enough. Your actions said otherwise. Look, I hope you figure your life out. I really do. I hope you learn from this and become a better person. But you're not going to do that with me. You're not going to use me as your rehabilitation project or your safety net. So that's it? You're just done with me? I was done with you the night of your birthday party. Everything since then has just been closing a door that should have been closed a long time ago. Brandon stood there, tears running down his face. Part of me felt bad for him. But the larger part of me felt nothing. He had made his choices. Now he had to live with them. You should go, I said gently but firmly. Can we be friends someday? I don't think so. I don't hate you, but I also don't want you in my life. You represent a chapter I've closed. I understand. He moved toward the door, then turned back. For what it's worth, you're right about everything. I did take you for granted. I did choose my own wants over your feelings. And I did destroy the best thing in my life. I hope whoever you're with now knows how lucky he is. He does. After Brandon left, I stood in my living room for a long moment. Then I picked up my phone and called Julian. Hey beautiful, he answered. I was just thinking about you. Brandon just showed up at my house. Julian's voice immediately changed. Are you okay? Do you need me to come up there? I'm fine. He's gone. He wanted another chance. And? I told him no. Very firmly no. How do you feel? I thought about it. I feel relieved. Like I just closed a door I didn't even realize was still cracked open. I don't want him back. I don't want to help him. I don't want to be his friend. I just want him to be a person I used to know. That's healthy. That's really healthy, Naomi. I think I finally let him go. Like really let him go. Not just legally or physically but emotionally. He's not part of my story anymore. Good. Because you deserve to be with someone who knows your worth from day one. Who never makes you question if you're enough. I found that someone. Julian was quiet for a moment. You're going to make me tear up in the middle of this coffee shop. I laughed. Sorry? But it's true. You make me feel valued in a way I didn't even know was possible. You make it easy. You're incredible. After we hung up, I looked around my home. My space. My sanctuary. Brandon had stood here 20 minutes ago, and already I could barely remember what he had said. He was fading from my mind, from my heart, from my life. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, the new couch I had bought in colors I loved, in a room I had designed for myself. The past was truly past, and the future was mine to write. Julian moved to Philadelphia 6 months later. He opened his ecotourism office in an old converted warehouse space in Fishtown, and I helped him design the interior. He had been right about us not being impossible. The distance had actually made our relationship stronger. Every visit had been intentional. Every conversation had mattered. We had built something real without rushing. Now, with him in the same city, things got even better. We saw each other 3 or 4 times a week. We cooked together. Explored new restaurants. Took weekend trips to the mountains or the beach. We had a rhythm that felt natural. The thing I loved most about Julian was how he never tried to fix me or save me. He never treated me like I was broken because of Brandon. He knew my story, but he didn't define me by it. To him, I was just Naomi, a woman he loved, respected, and genuinely liked spending time with. We had been dating for 7 months when he met my parents. I was nervous, which was silly. My parents weren't judgmental people. But they had loved Brandon once, had welcomed him into the family, had been disappointed when he betrayed me. What if they saw Julian as just another potential heartbreak? I shouldn't have worried. Within 30 minutes of meeting him, my mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. This one is different. You can tell already? The way he looks at you. The way he listens when you talk. The way he helps without being asked. Your father noticed it too. At dinner, my father asked Julian about his business. Not in an interrogating way but with genuine interest. Julian talked about sustainable tourism and how he wanted to create experiences that respected local cultures and environments while still being accessible. Naomi helped me design the office, Julian mentioned. She has an incredible eye for space and branding. That's our girl, my father said proudly. Always been creative and smart. Later, after my parents went to bed, Julian and I sat on their back porch under the stars. Your family is wonderful, he said. They like you, which is a big deal. They're protective of me after everything with Brandon. I can understand that. I'd be protective too. My mother said you're different. That you look at me differently. How do I look at you? I thought about it. Like I'm someone you choose every day, not someone you're stuck with. That's exactly right. You're not an obligation or a convenience. You're someone I actively want in my life. Is that what love is supposed to feel like? Like a choice instead of a trap? I think so. The best relationships are built on people who could survive alone but choose to be together because it makes life richer. A few weeks later, Julian met Tasha. They had talked on the phone a few times, but this was their first in-person meeting. I was even more nervous about this than meeting my parents. Tasha was protective, analytical, and quick to spot trouble. We went to brunch at a place in Center City. Tasha showed up looking like the attorney she was, sharp blazer, perfect makeup, evaluating eyes. So you're Julian, she said, shaking his hand. And you're the famous Tasha. Naomi talks about you constantly. All good things, I hope. The best things. She says you're the reason she got through the divorce with her sanity intact. Tasha smiled, slightly disarmed. Someone had to keep her grounded. Over mimosas and avocado toast, Tasha asked Julian subtle but probing questions. About his business. His previous relationships. His intentions with me. To his credit, Julian answered everything honestly and without getting defensive. I'm not looking to rush anything, he said when Tasha asked where he saw things going. Naomi and I are building something together, and we're doing it at a pace that feels right for both of us. And if she got another promotion that required her to work more hours or travel more, I'd support her. Her career matters. Her success matters. I'm not intimidated by a woman who's accomplished. Good answer. After Julian excused himself to use the restroom, Tasha leaned across the table. Okay, I admit it. He's great. Completely different from Brandon. You approve? I more than approve. I'm genuinely happy for you. He treats you like an equal partner, not like a resource to be managed. That's exactly how it feels. Don't mess this up. I laughed. I'm trying not to. The truth was, I was a little scared. Things with Julian were so good that I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. For him to reveal some hidden flaw or secret life. For the relationship to fall apart the way my marriage had. I brought this up with my therapist, who I still saw every month. That's normal, she assured me. After betrayal, it's hard to trust fully. But you can't let past hurt dictate your present relationships. How do I stop waiting for disaster? By being present. By noticing when you're projecting past fears onto current situations. Julian hasn't given you any reason not to trust him, has he? No. None at all. Then trust him until he gives you a reason not to. Trust yourself to handle whatever comes. You've proven you're strong enough to survive anything. That helped. I started noticing when I was creating problems that didn't exist. When I was assuming the worst instead of accepting the good. Julian and I fell into an easy rhythm. We had keys to each other's places but maintained our own spaces. We made plans but also gave each other breathing room. We talked about the future without rushing toward it. One night, about 8 months into our relationship, we were cooking dinner at his place. I was chopping vegetables while he handled the protein. Music played in the background. It was ordinary and perfect. I love this, I said suddenly. The cooking? Or the company? Both. But mainly the simplicity of it. Just being together without drama or stress or wondering what you're really thinking. Julian put down his spatula and came over to me. He took the knife from my hand and set it on the cutting board, then pulled me close. You never have to wonder what I'm thinking. I'll always tell you. Good, bad, or complicated. Promise. Promise. And I expect the same from you. Deal? Deal. We kissed and it felt like sealing a commitment. Not to marriage or forever, but to honesty and presence and choosing each other every day. Later that night, lying in his bed, I realized I had stopped comparing him to Brandon. I had stopped measuring the relationship against my marriage. Julian wasn't better than Brandon, he was completely different. And that was the point. I wasn't trying to replace what I had lost. I was building something new. Something that belonged to only Julian and me. Something based on who we both were now, not who we had been in past relationships. What are you thinking? Julian asked, his voice sleepy. That I'm happy. Really, truly happy. Good. Because I plan to keep you that way for a very long time. I smiled in the darkness. For the first time since my marriage ended, I believed in forever again. Not the naive forever of youth, but the intentional forever of people who know what they want and choose it consciously. This was what love was supposed to feel like. And I was never settling for less again. 14 months after my divorce was finalized, Brandon tried one last desperate move. I was at work in the middle of a presentation to our board of directors about a new campaign strategy, when my assistant knocked and slipped me a note. Someone's here to see you. Says it's urgent. Security is holding him in the lobby. I glanced at the note and felt a familiar annoyance. I knew without asking that it was Brandon. He had tried calling my work number a few times over the past months, but my assistant had been instructed to block him. I finished my presentation. It went well, the board approved my entire proposal, and then went down to the lobby. Julian had already texted me asking if I wanted to grab lunch, so he was waiting by the elevator when I got there. You okay? He asked, noticing my expression. Brandon's here. Want me to handle it? No. But I want you there. We walked to the lobby together. Brandon was standing by the security desk, holding flowers and a letter. When he saw me, his face lit up with hope. When he saw Julian beside me, the hope faded. Naomi. Thank you for coming down. What do you want, Brandon? I'm working. I know. I'm sorry. But I needed to see you. I wrote you a letter. Everything I should have said. Everything I feel. He tried to hand me the envelope. I didn't take it. I'm not interested in your letter. Please. Just read it. It explains everything. There's nothing to explain. We're done. We've been done. But I've changed. I've been going to therapy. Working on myself. I understand now what I threw away. Julian spoke for the first time. She's asked you to leave her alone. Multiple times. You need to respect that. Brandon looked at him with something like hatred. Who are you to tell me what to do? I'm talking to my wife. Ex-wife, I corrected. And Julian is my boyfriend. And he's right. I've asked you repeatedly to leave me alone. I can't. Not until you understand how sorry I am. Not until you give me a chance to prove. I don't want your apology. I don't want your proof. I want you to leave. Naomi, please? No. I kept my voice firm but calm. Security was watching closely, ready to intervene if needed. Listen to me very carefully. I don't forgive you. I don't hate you. I simply don't care about you anymore. You're a person from my past. Someone I used to know. Someone who taught me important lessons about what I won't tolerate. But we could nothing. There is no we. There hasn't been for a long time. You made sure of that when you chose Simone. When you humiliated me at your birthday party. When you lied to me for 8 months. Brandon's eyes filled with tears. I know what I did. I know I destroyed everything. But people make mistakes. People deserve second chances. You don't deserve anything from me. You had your chance. You had 7 years of chances. You used every single one to hurt me. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. You taught me that. Brandon looked at Julian again. Is it because of him? If he wasn't in the picture, would you consider? No. Julian has nothing to do with this. Even if I was single, even if I never dated anyone again, I still wouldn't take you back. Because you're not good for me. You never were. How can you say that? We were happy. You were happy. I was exhausted. I was working myself to the bone, paying for our life, planning our future, while you were texting another woman that you loved her. That's not happiness. That's delusion. The lobby had gone quiet. Other people in the building were watching now, pretending not to listen but obviously invested in the drama. Brandon tried one more time. I still love you. You love the idea of me. The woman who took care of everything. Who made your life easy. But you don't love me because you don't even know me. You never bothered to learn who I really was underneath all the things I did for you. I walked over to the trash can near the security desk and dropped his letter in it without opening it. Then I turned to the security guard. If he comes back, please call the police. I don't want him in this building again. The guard nodded. Understood. I turned back to Brandon one final time. I hope you figure out your life. I hope you learn to be a better person. I hope you find happiness with someone who actually wants to be with you. But all of that needs to happen without me. We're done. Completely. Finally. Done. Brandon stood there looking lost and broken. Part of me felt sorry for him. The larger part of me felt free. Julian and I walked back to the elevators. As the doors closed, I saw Brandon still standing in the lobby, holding his flowers, looking at the trash can where his letter sat unread. You okay? Julian asked. I'm perfect. That was intense. It was necessary. He needed to hear it one last time. Clearly. Definitively. Do you think he'll finally leave you alone? I think so. I think he finally understands that I've moved on. That I'm happy. That I'm never coming back. We went to lunch at a Thai place near my office. Julian held my hand across the table. I'm proud of you, he said. That couldn't have been easy. It was easier than I expected. A year ago, seeing him like that might have made me feel guilty or sad. But today, I just felt annoyed that he interrupted my work day. That's growth. That's freedom. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Brandon. I understand now. I'll stop bothering you. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're happy with him. You deserve to be happy. I showed Julian the message. Do you want to respond? He asked. No. There's nothing left to say. I deleted the message and blocked his number. Then I blocked him on all social media platforms. Every avenue of contact closed. That's it then, Julian said. The end of that chapter. The end of that book. I'm writing new ones now. That night, Julian and I cooked dinner at my place. We talked about his business expansion plans and my upcoming promotion announcement. We made plans for a trip to Costa Rica in the fall. We talked about normal, everyday things that had nothing to do with my past. Before he left, he still kept his own place and we both valued having our own spaces. He kissed me at my door. Thank you for choosing me, he said. Thank you for being worth choosing. After he left, I walked through my house. Every room reflected me, my taste, my choices, my peace. There was no trace of Brandon left. No photos, no gifts, no memories hanging around like ghosts. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my back porch. The night was clear, stars visible despite the city lights. I thought about how far I had come in just over a year. From humiliated wife to divorced woman to someone who had completely rebuilt her life. Brandon had done me a favor, really. His betrayal had forced me to see what I had been settling for. His affair had pushed me to demand better. His departure had given me space to become who I was always meant to be. I didn't hate him anymore. I didn't even think about him most days. He was just a person I used to know. A mistake I had learned from. A chapter that was closed and sealed and gathering dust on a shelf I never visited. My phone buzzed. Julian had sent a photo, a goofy selfie with his dog. The caption, Wallace says goodnight and wants to know when his favorite human is visiting again. I smiled and typed back, tell Wallace this weekend. And tell his owner I'm falling in love with both of them. I hit send before I could overthink it. It was the first time I had used the word love with Julian. The first time I had admitted out loud what I had been feeling for months. 3 dots appeared as he typed. Then, Wallace is doing a happy dance. His owner is doing the same. I love you too, Naomi. Half from the moment you shared your coconut at that cafe in Bali. I sat there grinning at my phone like a teenager. This was what it was supposed to feel like. Easy. Honest. Real. Brandon was finally, completely, irrevocably in my past. And my future was brighter than I ever imagined possible. 2 years after Brandon toasted Simone at the birthday party I paid for, I stood in my backyard at a celebration I had planned for myself. It was a small gathering, just my closest friends and family, to mark my 35th birthday and my promotion to executive vice president. Julian was grilling vegetables while Tasha helped me set up the dessert table. My parents sat in the shade, chatting with Julian's family. His parents had flown in from Atlanta for the weekend. My brother and his wife played with their kids on my new swing set. You know what's funny? Tasha said as we arranged cupcakes. 3 years ago you were planning Brandon's birthday party. Now you're celebrating your own success, surrounded by people who actually value you. It's better this way. So much better. And speaking of better. She nodded toward Julian. That man is looking at you like you're the only person here. I glanced over. Julian caught my eye and winked. My stomach still did a little flip when he looked at me like that. We're moving in together next month, I told Tasha. Finally. It's about time. You two have been dating for over a year and a half. I wanted to be sure. After Brandon, I needed to know I could trust my judgment. And Julian is everything I didn't know I needed. He's supportive without being controlling. Ambitious without being competitive. Loving without being possessive. We're partners in the truest sense. Have you talked about marriage? We've talked about it. Neither of us is in a rush. We're happy as we are. If it happens someday, great. If not, that's fine too. The piece of paper doesn't matter as much as the partnership. My phone buzzed. It was an email notification from LinkedIn. Someone had endorsed me for a skill. I opened it absently, then froze. The endorsement was from Brandon. His message was short. Congratulations on your promotion. You earned it. I'm genuinely happy for your success. I showed Tasha. Are you going to respond? She asked. No. But I'm not going to block it either. It's nice to know he's moved on enough to be gracious. Have you heard anything about him lately? Last I heard he got a new job. Nothing fancy but stable. He's dating someone. Not Simone. Someone he met at a coffee shop or something. I hope he's learned from his mistakes. You're very mature about this. I shrugged. I don't have energy for bitterness anymore. He made his choices. I made mine. His choices led him to wherever he is now. My choices led me here. I gestured at my backyard full of people I loved. I definitely got the better deal. Julian came over, carrying a plate of perfectly grilled vegetables. Food's ready. Should I call everyone? Perfect timing. We gathered everyone around the long table I had bought specifically for moments like this. Julian sat beside me, his hand resting on my knee under the table. My mother raised her glass. A toast, she announced, to Naomi, who taught us all that sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things. Who showed us that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Who proved that happiness is something you build, not something you wait for someone else to give you. To Naomi, everyone echoed. I looked around at the faces smiling back at me. Every person here supported me, valued me, chose to be in my life not because they needed something from me, but because they genuinely loved me. This was what I had been missing in my marriage. This feeling of being chosen, not tolerated. Of being celebrated, not taken for granted. Of being seen as a whole person, not just as a convenient partner. After dinner, as the sun set and string lights twinkled overhead, Julian pulled me aside. Happy birthday, he said, handing me a small wrapped box. You already gave me a gift. That was the public gift. This is the private one. I opened it carefully. Inside was a key on a simple chain. Is this the key to my place? I know we're moving in together next month, but I wanted you to have this now. Because even when we're not living together officially, my home is your home. You're welcome anytime for any reason. I kissed him, not caring that our families could see. I love you. I love you too. And I'm so proud of you. Not just for the promotion but for everything. For rebuilding your life. For choosing happiness. For being brave enough to trust again. You made it easy to trust again. We make it easy for each other. That's what partnership should be. As the party continued around us, I thought about the woman I had been 2 years ago. Sitting in an expensive restaurant, watching her husband toast another woman. Feeling her heart break in real time. Planning revenge because she didn't know what else to do with her pain. That woman felt like a stranger now. I had been so focused on Brandon's betrayal that I missed the real betrayal, the one I had committed against myself by staying in a relationship that didn't serve me. By accepting less than I deserved. By making myself smaller to make someone else comfortable. The revenge I had planned, the public video, the dramatic divorce announcement, had felt necessary at the time. And maybe it was. Maybe I needed that moment of taking back control. Of telling my own story instead of letting him control the narrative. But the real revenge, the lasting revenge was this: living well. Being happy. Building a life so good that Brandon's betrayal became the best thing that ever happened to me. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from my attorney. The final paperwork had been filed. All ties to Brandon were legally severed. Even his name was off our old joint accounts that had been closed months ago. I was completely, officially, totally free. What's that smile about? Julian asked. Just thinking about how different my life is now. How much better everything is. Any regrets? Not one. Well, maybe I regret wasting 7 years with the wrong person. But even that taught me something valuable. What's that? That I'm strong enough to start over. That I'm worth more than I was settling for. That happiness is something I create, not something someone gives me. Julian pulled me close. You're the strongest person I know. And the happiest. And I feel incredibly lucky that you chose to share your life with me. The feeling is mutual. We stayed outside long after everyone else went home. Just the two of us, sitting in the quiet darkness, listening to crickets and city sounds mixing together. What do you want for the future? Julian asked. Not just the near future but the big picture. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what does your life look like? I thought about it. I want to keep growing in my career. Maybe start my own consulting firm eventually. I want to travel more, there are still so many places I haven't seen. I want to maintain the relationships that matter and let go of ones that don't. I want to keep learning and evolving. And I want to do it all with someone who sees me as an equal partner. That sounds perfect. What about you? I want to grow my business sustainably. I want to make a difference in how people think about travel and the environment. I want to be with someone who challenges me to be better while accepting me as I am. I want to build a life based on authenticity, not appearances. We want the same things. That's why this works. Later that night, after Julian left and I was alone in my house, I walked through each room slowly. The living room I had redecorated. The kitchen where I had cooked countless meals for people I loved. The bedroom that was mine and mine alone. The office where I worked on projects that excited me. Every inch of this space was mine. Chosen by me. Paid for by me. Maintained by me. And I had invited Julian into it not because I needed him to complete it, but because I wanted him to share it. That was the difference. Want versus need. Choice versus desperation. Partnership versus dependency. I thought about Brandon one last time. Not with anger or pain but with something like gratitude. Because his betrayal had forced me to grow in ways I never would have otherwise. His departure had created space for something better. If he had never cheated, I might still be in that marriage. Still making myself smaller. Still prioritizing his needs over my own. Still living half a life and calling it happy. Instead I was here. Whole. Complete. Successful. Loved by people who deserved my love. Living a life I had built from the ground up. This was my happy ending. Not because I found another man to complete me but because I completed myself. Not because I got revenge on my ex-husband, but because I stopped letting his actions define my worth. Not because everything was perfect but because I had learned that perfection wasn't the goal, authenticity was. I poured myself one last glass of wine and stepped out onto my back porch. The city stretched out before me, full of lights and possibilities. Somewhere out there, Brandon was living his own life. And that was fine. Our stories had diverged and we were both exactly where we needed to be. I raised my glass to the night sky. To new beginnings. To hard lessons learned. To the courage to start over. To the wisdom to know what I deserved. To the strength to demand it. To me, I whispered. For choosing myself when it mattered most. The wind carried my words away, but I felt their truth settle into my bones. This was what victory looked like. Not destroying my enemy but building a life so good that they became irrelevant. I went inside, locked my door, and went to bed in my comfortable home in my city, in the life I had created through pain and perseverance and an unwillingness to settle. Tomorrow I would wake up and continue building this beautiful life. But tonight I would sleep peacefully knowing that the hardest part was over. I had survived betrayal. I had rebuilt myself. And I had learned the most important lesson of all, that the only person who could truly complete me was myself. Everything else was just a wonderful addition to an already full life. And that was the happiest ending of all.